burning rubber with some big-time bloodlines. In tonight's Inside Track, we show you how a couple of young ladies are adding to that Schatz family legacy in their rookie season. A lot of great stuff tonight. Hi everyone, Jay Elson is letting me hot lap the show this week. I'm Jody Norstead. It's routinely one of the marquee events on the racing schedule in North Dakota. The Governor's Cup was in the spotlight out in Mandan. The two-day event jam-packed with drivers competing across 6 classes both Friday and Saturday night. The main attraction being the Northern Outlaw Sprint Association making its annual visit to Dacotah Speedway for the 5th straight year. This weekend is always a spectacle in Mandan. Around 140 cars were roaming around the pits on Saturday at Dacotah Speedway. Let's start with the street stocks, where Friday's winner, Hunter Domagala in the 97, drew the pole. He was locked in a battle early with Lisbon's Todd Carter in the white 19 until a caution stopped the action a few laps in. On the restart, Domagala gets a great jump and leads on the back straightaway, but the 4-wide race for third results in a mess. Tracy Domagala, Kyle Zittelman, and Casey Huset all get spun around. It didn't matter how many restarts though, Hunter Domagala wasn't going to be denied. He pulls off the weekend sweep to capture the Governor's Cup hardware. Another 28 cars packed the track for the IMCA modified feature. Bismarck's Jeremy Keller, who suffered a DNF on night 1, led them to the opening green. Everyone was chasing the mustard yellow machine, but watch the 24Q of Quentin Kinsley straddle the top line to jump from 4th to 2nd coming out of turn 2. With Keller cruising out front, the main battle was for 2nd. Mark Dahl is there with 8 to go, but here comes Friday night's winner, Marlon Seidler in the 7 car. He hugs the inside line and jumps into the 2 spot. But it was Keller's race to lose. On the final lap, he slows up to avoid a stalled car, but track officials throw the checkered flag anyway, earning Keller his 4th feature win of the year in Mandan. To the NOSA Sprints, Brendan Mullen, fresh off winning the Friday night Governor's Cup feature for a 3rd straight year, looking to cap things off strong. Mark Dobmeier finished runner-up on Friday, but he has 3 wins all-time at the Governor's Cup. Dobmeier and Wade Nygaard started the 25-lap feature out front. Dobmeier gets off to a blazing start while Jade Hastings soars up into the 2nd spot on the opening lap. Those two went at it the first 8 laps until the first caution comes out. Blake Eglund has some engine problems and heads back to the pit area for the night. On the ensuing restart, Dobmeier and Hastings pick up right where they left off. The veteran holding off the 24-year-old with 15 to go, but with 12 laps left, Hastings finds the right line, diving down into turn 4 and eventually working past Dobmeier for the lead. Friday's winner, Brendan Mullen, was having a good run in 3rd, but couldn't track down Dobmeier for 2nd, so Dobmeier gets back-to-back Governor's Cup trophies, but Hastings takes home the checkered flag, earning his 3rd victory of the season at his 3rd different track.
We've been on a roll lately, 7 podiums in our last 8 races, I think, and you know, it's my job's super easy. I show up to the track, I know I'm gonna have a hot rod, I just gotta come in and be sharp. So it's great to win here tonight. Definitely helps us moving forward and make our job easier this week working on the car.
Still to come, we have some pit stops at I-90 and Huset, but when we return, dominant drivers and an upset in the late model class highlight the evening in Grand Forks. You're watching Midco Motorsports.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
From the Outlaw Late Models to the IRA NOSA Sprint Challenge, followed up by Big Motor Mania. It's been a loaded July for River Cities Speedway. They hope to finish the month with a bang, and a unique storyline to follow entering Friday was the fact that we had another shot at seeing the Peterson trifecta. Late model veteran Joey Peterson and his 2 children, Tucker and Kelsey, were a blown tire away from sweeping a trio of features the last time all 3 of their classes were part of the lineup in Grand Forks. That was back in mid-June. Would they make another run at it? We start in the street stock class. River City points leader Aaron Blackland started on the pole. He and Seth Klostrike in the 30 battled for the lead early on. Blacklance has been red hot in Grand Forks in July. Midway through the race, Blacklance, Klostrike, and John Halverson go 3 wide for the lead. Blacklance emerges out front though. After that battle, the Thief River Falls native runs away with it. he now has 3 street stock feature wins in his last 4 trips to the bull ring. To the lightning sprints, Alex Trezinski is having one of the most dominant seasons you can ask for. He's run 16 features and has finished either first or second in every one of them. He gets his red and black number 10 buzzing early after starting on the pole. Kelsey Peterson, who we mentioned earlier, tried to reel in the Greenbush, Minnesota driver, but he had his car dialed into perfection. Trezinski channeled his inner Ricky Bobby this weekend. If you ain't first, you're last. He ends up winning 3 features in 3 nights. To the Wissota Midwest Mods, Austin Hunter in the yellow 44 starts outside row 1 and paces the field early on, but here comes the 17 of Lance Schill to track him down on lap 2. A little love tap right in front of the flag stand. Schill was uncatchable on this night. He collects his 5th Midwest Mod feature win at River Cities. The late models finish the night. Jason Strand and Ryan Corbett take the pack to green for the feature. Corbett sticks on the bottom groove to take the early lead with Strand hanging on his bumper. Midway through the race, Corbett still riding the bottom when Strand rides the cushion up high for the pass to take the lead. Once the E85 got out front, he wouldn't be denied. Strand navigates his way through lap traffic to pick up his 2nd career win in a late model and first ever feature win at River Cities Speedway.
It's always tough to win here. The competition's so great. There's so many great guys, and it's just really great to be able to stay out front. I told my wife before I quit, I'm going to try the late model, and it was just a perfect opportunity last year to get into one. So with Dustin and helping me out, you know, I couldn't ask for any better person to help me out get started and point me in the right direction.
When Midco Motorsports returns, we take a look at a racing family's success story that is nowhere near finished. That story after this quick yellow flag.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset.
Well, it's not uncommon for families to spend time together doing what they enjoy, and the Schatz family is no different. Of course, that has meant spending a lot of time at dirt tracks across the country over the years. It's also a North Dakota success story that started back in Minot and has grown to a point that none of them expected to reach. Brian Sean has more in this week's Inside Track, brought to you by My Place Hotel.
But Donnie Schatz is going to do it! He won the...
For nearly 3 decades, Donnie Schatz has been a household name in the sprint car world. 10 World of Outlaws titles, over 300 wins, and success beyond what they ever thought possible.
If anybody would have said that they were going to set out to do what we've accomplished, I'd say they were probably the most egotistical person on the planet and unrealistic. With any success, whether it's whatever number it is, you put it behind you when you go to bed that night and you focus on the next day, and that's what we do.
His father Danny was right there when Donnie got started and didn't hesitate to give his son plain talk or a swift kick in the tail tank when he needed it. We sat down with both for an interview back in early June before Danny passed away from pancreatic cancer.
When you seen there was a problem, you didn't ignore the problem. You didn't sweep the problem under the rug, you addressed it. And you know, that's what pushes you to get to that next level, and everything that he pushed helped. I might not have agreed with it at the time.
You have to be pretty straightforward as you go through life, and it doesn't do any good to beat around the bush, so we just address things kind of the way they are. Nothing comes easy.
If you're beat down, or you know, how you attack it mentally. And he was always great with that. Obviously, you know, learning that through business and the military and doing all the things that he's done. That's, you know, what made us into a championship team.
Pretty basic. It's the car I drove. The shocks are pretty standard.
Now it's Donnie's turn to take those lessons and mentor the next generation of drivers in the family. His 2 14-year-old nieces, Amelia and Layla, both started racing 305 sprint cars this summer.
Go-karts have been great. They've had some success in go-karts, but at some point you want them to get into something that's a lot safer, a little bigger, a little closer to home. I can help them in a sprint car. I feel like we have the knowledge and the success to know what to do.
He's the one that started us in it, and he keeps us going. I think it's cool to be able to do what, take after him, and I don't think I'll ever accomplish anything like he has, but I guess I can try and do my best.
He's taught us and my grandpa, honestly, they've both taught us that a lot of things that you can't do to make yourself look, bad.
I've always known they wanted to do it, just growing up around the shop and going to the races. And I think once we started racing go-karts, that's when I kind of knew I need to expect that we were going to get to this level at some point.
They pay attention to what's going on, and their uncle has helped them be in a situation where they try and understand the basics of running a car, whether it's a go-kart or a sprint car, and what it takes not to be a fool out there just smashing up equipment.
Most of the family was present when the two got behind the wheel and pushed off for the first time here in West Fargo, with some excitement and a little bit of angst. But the goal right now is simply to learn, grow, and get a little faster each time out. Well, that and trying to finish ahead of one another.
Sometimes we get after each other, but it's pretty fun.
I don't really get nervous. I know my mom probably does.
You don't want someone to start racing thinking, oh, we got to race for points and we got to race for this. How about we just go out there and ultimately we have fun, but we learn by everything we do. We're going to try to make it to where they get as many laps as they can and learn the most they can in a short amount of time.
The expectation is going to be unrealistic just because of who they are, and if they don't meet that expectation right away, it's unfortunately human nature for people to assume negativity towards it.
If there was any question of whether or not the two young drivers were ready for this step, they've answered them. Layla won a heat race and has a top 10 finish, while Amelia already has feature wins at I-90 Speedway, Norman County Raceway, and Red River Valley Speedway.
Give it up for number one. It's Amelia Eisenshank.
She is the youngest driver ever to take the checkered flag at this historic track, a title held by her uncle Donnie for 23 years.
I'd really like to get into a 410 one day. I like late models too. Hopefully we can get, once we get this down, we can maybe try some late model racing.
I think when you're such a close-knit family, it's hard not to get wrapped up and love the same things they love.
And even though Danny passed away this summer, what he started will continue on, with the same simple blueprint he created many years ago.
They're all hard workers, and I've learned that nothing is really just given. You have to work for what you want, and I'm really proud of all what they've done in their lives.
You got to work at it, you got to earn it, and I think these girls definitely understand that. So, and they're still motivated to want to do it. It's something they come out here and work on these things a lot. They take pride in it themselves, so that gives me a lot of pride to see them have that attitude towards it.
It's pretty cool that we've all stuck with it in all aspects of it. Nobody's given up. Everybody's kept going. Everybody's worked hard through the ups and downs. And that's just kind of how we were raised.
I think the only thing that I've tried to do is help them not stray from what it takes to focus on something and getting the job done.
Both Amelia and Layla also keep busy with other activities as well. Both are members of the North Dakota Class B champion Kindred girls basketball team, and Layla has actually missed some races because she has been busy playing AAU basketball on weekends this summer. Well, race fans at I-90 in Hartford welcome the Msts 360 Tour back to town for the final time this season. Find out who celebrated in Victory Lane next.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
Mother Nature robbed race fans in Hartford the chance to see the Msts 360 Tour back in mid-July, but it was clear skies on Saturday as they finished up a doubleheader weekend. Minnesotan Chris Thram won the feature Friday night at the Jackson Motorplex, and he challenged again at I-90. A field of 17 cars showed up for the Msts 360 stop in Hartford, but we start with the USRA Hobby Stocks. Levi Vanderwhite grabs the lead from his front row starting spot. Moments later, we get a red flag as the 37 of Jason Scott ends up upside down. Luckily, everyone was okay. Back to green and back to Vanderweide. We call him the producer on this show. He pulls away. He leads every lap to pick up his third victory of the season in Hartford. To the 305 feature where Pipestone's Nicholas Winter was cooking early, leading the first 6 laps of the race. But that's when Andrew Sullivan in the 91 makes his move, taking the lead away from Winter in turns 1 and 2. But stop me if you've heard this one before. Lee Goose Jr. had the fastest car on the track. He powers around the outside of Sullivan on lap 13 and never looks back. Goose Jr. parks it on victory lane for the 3rd time this season on his home track. To the main event, the Msts 360 sprints. Parker native Brant O'Banion leads the pack to the green flag. O'Banion shot out to a big lead and not even a couple of yellows slowed him down. Friday night's winner Chris Thram was gaining ground late, but O'Banion holds on to claim his first Msts 360 victory of the season. Jacob Hughes, who calls Hartford, South Dakota home, is quickly becoming a contender in Huset Speedway's 305 sprint class. But there's one thing he wants more than anything. Find out what that is when Midco Motorsports rolls on.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset.
The 305 sprint class is considered by many to be a place for beginners. And while that's technically accurate, some young drivers are looking to shake that label as quickly as possible. Hartford, South Dakota native Jacob Hughes is one of them. He's the focus of this week's Driver Spotlight.
For Jacob Hughes, Sundays are for soaking up all he can from one of the most veteran groups of beginners you can find.
I'd put our local 305 class against about anybody in the country. I mean, you got Dusty Ballinger, John Lamberts, Lee Goose, basically everybody when I was a kid up there in the grandstands at Huset's watching run a 410. I race kids them week in and week out. It's really competitive and a really tough class.
That has helped fuel Hughes' steady progress. Although going from the top 10 to the top of the heap in points isn't exactly how this 22-year-old racer defines success. That is measured strictly by wins, which is the one thing Hughes is still searching for.
It's definitely tough. We're always there the first 15 laps, and then at the end we've been struggling a little bit with temperature and trying to get the car to run better at the end, because once it starts getting hot, you're losing power and it doesn't take off. The dudes that have been beating us are really good on the starts there at the end of the race, and their stuff's perfect. Last year we had 2 or 3 seconds. This year we've had 2 or 3 seconds. Podiums are always nice, but I just want to win one of these things.
The good news is Hughes knows he's close, and that the wait, frustrating as it may be, will eventually be worthwhile.
It's a really trying and testing sport. There's a lot of times it'll beat you down and make you want to quit, but you just got to keep coming back every single week and busting it harder in the shop and busting your tail. So we're going to get one by the end of the year here, and hopefully it'd be cool to win anywhere else, but I'd prefer to win at Huset Speedway before anywhere else, because basically grew up and pretty much was raised in those grandstands ever since I was a kid. I was been here every single Sunday, and now it's awesome just to be able to field the sprint car with my dad and come out here every Sunday and try to win. And we've been pretty dang close, but we're going to get one here this year.
Pretty good crowd on hand at Huset Sunday night. Last chance to come out to the track until the last Sunday in August. First up, Hughes and the rest of the Race Saver 305s getting after it. Pole sitter Blaine Stegenga in the 96 leads them early. Things get interesting with 8 laps to go. Brandon Bosma throws a slide job on Stegenga, but he gets too high and takes the wall. Jared Jansen in the 81 jumps from 3rd to 1st. Through the shuffle, 11th place starting Koby Werkmeister worked his way to 2nd. And here he sneaks his nose under Jansen in turns 1 and 2 with 6 laps to go. The 16-year-old from Armour, South Dakota holds on from there to pick up his first career win at Huset Speedway. Jansen and Hughes round out the top 3. The late model street stocks were up next. Colby Clausen and J.J. Zebel raced side by side the opening lap, with Clausen eventually snagging the lead. Clausen coming off 3 straight DNFs at Huset's. A good way to get out of that rut is lead every single lap, and he does just that. The 34K takes the checkered flag for the 2nd time this summer at the track. Good redemption win for the Iowa driver. 23 cars on the track for the 410 sprint feature, and they all got along well. The race took all of 6 minutes to complete with 0 cautions. Points leader Matt Jewell started at the front and looked quick early. The 09 was buzzing around flawlessly until he came up on lap traffic. That's when young gun Ryan Timms starts to make his move. Timms in the 5T throws the slider on Caleb Johnson's 22K ride, coming out of turn 2 to take second. A handful of laps later, Timms tracks down Jewell and pulls the exact same move in the exact same spot. The 15-year-old from Oklahoma City breezes through traffic the rest of the way to pick up his 3rd victory of the summer at Huset, the most of any driver in the division this season.
We definitely didn't have the best car, but I mean, before we got to lap traffic, they were definitely pulling me. I mean, I was kind of keeping pace, but we could have had it a little better. We still got the win, so I'm happy, but yeah, with lap cars, none of them could really get by them, and it was just, there was some on the bottom, some on the top, and when they weren't on the bottom, you just had to bomb it in on them and get by them on the top, so they weren't really doing that, and I was just sending it, and I'm just glad we got it done.
A lot of good racing. That's a wrap for this week's show. For Jay Elson, Brian Sean, and our producer Levi Vanderweide, I'm Jody Norstead. Enjoy the races, everyone. Jay is back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Midco Motorsports.